All right, joining me now on the show, he is the Hall of Fame trainer. You know him from his work with Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, of course, Mike Tyson. We're going to get a little bit into that now that Mike Tyson's back in the news. He is the great Freddie Roach. What's up, Freddie?
Not too much. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. How are, you're one of those guys, Freddie, as long as I've known you, you have worked every day almost, tirelessly in the gym, sundown to sunset. What's it been like the last, 3 months to do something completely different?
It's not the most fun in the world. I mean, I'd rather be in the gym. Being at home with my dog and taking him for walks 3 or 4 times a day to get some exercise in there. And I'm waiting for someone to give the green light to open sports back up in the world, and something I think we need very, very, very much. I think we need that to for America, sports around the world.
You, of course, Freddie, as I mentioned, you have some notable fighters on your roster. You also train like a lot of young guys up and coming the ranks. I mean, how often are you hearing from your guys wondering when can we get back? I mean, what's it going to look like? How does this all work?
Yeah, about daily, they'll call here and there, and is the gym open yet? When we get started, when's my next fight? This guy called me, that guy called me, but nothing really set yet. Nothing in ink.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case for a lot of people. It is good to see, Top Rank is starting to get some shows off the ground. I think PBC is going to get some shows off the ground this summer. Dazn might get some shows off the ground as well. So hopefully we'll be back sooner rather than later. It was interesting, Freddie, as one of the storylines of this week was Floyd Mayweather working with Devin Haney. And it got people talking about how sometimes great fighters, a lot of times great fighters don't make great trainers. You were a very good fighter who turned into a great trainer. I mean, why do you think that is? Why do you think why do you think it's so hard for great fighters to make that transition, whereas guys like yourself, even Buddy McGirt, they have successfully made that transition?
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, a lot of those great fighters, things come very natural to them, and they come to them with ease. I mean, you show them something, and they catch it right away, And then some guys, you've got to stop and teach them and work with them, and go over the entire move, and you know, and that's where I'm at. I mean, I was like one day I was talking to the great weightlifter there, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold said, "Freddie, you're lucky you weren't that good a fighter." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you weren't a great fighter. You were a tough guy and all that, but if you were a great fighter, you wouldn't be a great trainer." I said, "Why do you say that?" He says, "Because I'm the worst trainer in the world." He says, "I can't train anyone to lift 5 pounds." He said, "He just doesn't understand why they can't do it this way at this much weight because it came natural and very natural to him." But the thing is, like guys like Mayweather and stuff like this, I mean, things come easy to them. He's a very good boxer, and he does everything very naturally. And I really think there was some people that were born to fight, like James Toney. He says, "You guys have to train." He says, "I was born to fight," and I think that's halfway true. And there's a lot of guys out there that it comes very natural to, and they don't make good trainers because they expect you to be as good as them.
Mm. I mean, you certainly had an apprenticeship early in your career where you learned a lot to be a trainer. What was some of the most important lessons that you didn't know going into training that you learned as an apprentice?
Get my point across and so forth. Because working with Eddie FUTCH was a great thing. I mean, he's my trainer for 10 years, and then I worked for Eddie for 5 years as his assistant trainer, and I learned how to catch the mitts, and I learned it the best way. And Virgil Hill told me, he says, "I learned how to catch mitts over in Cuba, and they have the best style I think there is." And we went over and we started working together, and then he became my first world champion, and things started going very well, and it was a lot of fun and working with these guys. And then all of a sudden this guy Manny Pacquiao walks in my door and says, "Can I work the mitts with you?" And no, you can't right now. you know and we didn't even know his name at that time. I'm not sure anyone did at that time, but we started working and we hit it off very well, and we got together and we understood each other very well. And he became one of those guys who could really learn and absorb a lot of knowledge.
You've talked about this a million times, Freddie. And it's one of the all-time great trainer-fighter relationships. But do you still look back and think about, like, I mean, just how the circumstances, like Manny Pacquiao walks into your gym and you click, and just what that's meant for his career and for yours, of course.
Yeah, it was everything for my career, and hopefully it made me a lot for him also. I mean, because he had two losses going in, coming to America. He had already been lost two titles along the way and so forth. And he wanted to show me some tape of his fights and so forth. And so I said, yeah, sure. And so he said, so the first two tapes he shows me is when he got knocked out. And I said, why are you showing me these tapes? He said, I want you to know everything. I want you to know everything about me. I don't want to hide anything. He was knocked out by a body shot one time, and knocked out by a headshot one time, and he says, now we got to make this so this doesn't happen again. I said, oh, that's exactly what we're going to start right now on that. And we started working fundamentals, and he had a very good right hand, but his left hand wasn't as educated and so forth. So we started educating both hands. We started doing drills of over and over and over. I mean, it's just usage. I mean, if you use the right more than the left, the right's going to be more knowledge. But if you even them out, they'll both have knowledge. I mean, it's like being in the NBA with playing with one hand. You can't do that. I mean, in like a pro fighter or a championship fighter, he needs two hands and needs it to work them both very well.
Sean Porter, of all people, said recently that, if he had to choose between careers, would he take Floyd's or Manny's? And Sean said he'd take Manny Pacquiao's career, just because of the type of fights that he was in and, the wars he was in. And of course, as a boxer, you want to take as little punishment as possible. I get that. But I kind of agree with him, Freddie. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. Like Pacquiao, you look at, whether it's Morales or, just go down the list of his just incredible fights. Like the memories he made were pretty impressive.
They were impressive, and the memories to me are right around the corner. And just Pacquiao knocking. I mean, he's a guy that in the gym never tried to hurt anybody, never tried to knock anyone out in the gym. But all of a sudden, bang, a shot landed, and someone got knocked out. And he wouldn't do it on purpose. It was just natural, and he had that natural speed. And I mean, and you didn't see that punch coming, and if it hit you, you'd be on your ass. And but I mean, and then he carried over into the fights. And then I remember the first time he knocked somebody out with his right hand. We worked on that for like 3 months, over and over and over and over again, and it's getting better and better every day. And then all of a sudden, we go to Chicago, and he knocks out one of the local fighters there, and then Manny Pacquiao becomes a two-fisted fighter, and now he's really dangerous.
Really dangerous. That's right. You were asked a lot over the years about, what would have happened if Floyd fought Manny in like 2009, 2010, when they were both kind of at one of their peaks. I'm wondering, I don't know if you've ever asked this question, but Floyd, I thought, was always at his best at 130. He was really good at 130. Like when he beat Diego Corrales, that was impressive.
Yes.
Pacquiao came up the ranks at 130. How do you think a matchup between Floyd and Manny at 130 would have gone?
I love that fight, and of course, I love Manny in that fight. Yeah. But Mayweather, he was a very smooth fighter, not as big a puncher as Manny, I don't believe, but Manny had that punch, and he had that speed, and speed is one of the best assets in the world, in my opinion.
Mm.
Well, if you can pick anything in the world to have, I would pick speed, because nothing takes that place. Nothing takes
Mm.
over the speed that Manny Pacquiao had, and he works it so well. And then I mean, these guys getting hit with shots that they're not seeing from their weak side, and bang, the fight's over. And
Mm.
Mayweather's a good fighter, yes, and I hope he becomes a good trainer. I really do. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I had discussions with a lot of people about this. After I was told that I'm good because I wasn't that good a fighter, and then swallowing that like shit. Is that really why? but as time goes on, you realize that this is true, because people that are great are just really, really there for a reason. And the thing is, we don't have to teach those great guys a lot, and they know a lot. And again, everything comes really, really natural to them. And
Yeah, a lot of the greats have tried, whether it's
yeah,
Floyd or Roy Jones has tried back and forth every so often with.
yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard, he was a great
Yeah.
fighter. Because I think Sugar Ray is one of the best fighters of all time. I mean, uh, people say, "You mean Robinson?" I said, "No, no, Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a good fighter, because
Mm-hmm.
he beat a lot of guys along the way, and a lot of weight divisions also. He was in the Olympics, gold medal. Just he was a great fighter, and I feel that as he tried the training end of it, it just didn't work out that well for him. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was okay, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, it's gotta be frustrating if you know how to do it yourself, but you can't.
We
The guy that's doing it isn't responding
Yes.
in the same way.
It is,
That's
and that's one thing that working with Eddie Fudge is really good, because Eddie was one of those guys that could teach me along the way and teach me exactly what I need to do and so forth. And being around Eddie was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Just
mm, yeah.
but he was my trainer for a long time and so forth. But like, he stopped being my trainer when he started getting some bigger fighters and some heavyweights and so forth. And it was real difficult to get his attention and so forth. So his assistants weren't nearly as good as him. But then when I came back as an assistant of his, it really worked out well, because
Mm-hmm.
I got everything. Now it's clicking in my head. When I was a fighter, it didn't. My body didn't absorb it that good. But as a
Mm-hmm.
trainer, I absorbed it much better, and he taught me a lot of good lessons, and I still use a lot of them today.
Mm-hmm. So 2019, Freddie, was like a really impressive year for Pacquiao, being 40 years old and to put together wins over Adrian Broner and then Keith Thurman to reclaim a piece of the title, real piece of the title. I mean, you were part of that. Like, how much of that, I'm wondering, surprised you that Pacquiao at this stage was able to do what he did against Broner, and then Thurman, even though coming off like a hand injury from 6 or 8 months ago, was still widely viewed as one of the top two guys in the welterweight division. Did it surprise you that he was able to do this?
No, work ethic is unbelievable. I mean, he still has that work ethic that he came with when he came to America the first day. His work ethic was unbelievable, and he just worked. And the thing is, it's still the same now. And last week, I talked to them, and I talked to them about, I say, so and so's calling you out, and I said that might be a good fight. This might be a good fight, and he says, Freddie, just put someone in front of me, and tell me how to fight him, and we'll get the job done. So he still has great work ethic. I mean, there's nobody that works in the gym like Manny Pacquiao. He averages about 4.5 hours a day in the gym alone. That's not counting road work or running in the morning or exercise at night. Manny, this Sunday, take Sunday off. I mean, you've had a good week. Go to church. Hey, just take it easy. I can't do that. I said, why? He says, well, my opponent might not take Sunday off. He says, that's a good, that's a very good point.
Can't argue with that.
You can't argue with that. No.
That's incredible. I mean, when you talk to him though, Freddie, is like, what does he want out of the rest of his career? Is it just fight till the wheels come off? I mean, are there specific accomplishments that he still feels he can make? Is it just making as much money as possible? What's your read on what he wants?
I think he wants to be the first president world champion in that country. I really do. He wants to make his country better. He wants to improve everything and make it the best he can. And here's a kid with a fourth grade education and wants to be president and wants to do a good job. And I think he can do a good job. I really do. But sometimes I wonder, with his education, can he run a country? I mean, I don't think I could run a country. So,
I can't either.
but Manny, he really, dig down and he works hard and he'll do the best he can for everybody out there. And I think he's good for the country, and I think he'd be a great president. I vote
Hmm.
for him for
So,
sure.
so you want to? So, is it your belief that he just wants to keep going and maintain his title until a possible presidential election? Is that so? The boxing career and the political career are kind of intertwined.
Yeah, I think they'll come together for a moment, and then he'll go one way, and and be a good president. I feel, and
Hmm.
I think that's why he's still going into fights and so forth for the notoriety, so people still know who he is and so forth. And this is what he always knew what he did best. This is what he does best, and that's fight. He's
Hmm.
the best boxer. But the thing is, being a president, I mean, being popular and getting votes is very important, and I think that's part of the plan. But like,
Hmm.
if I tell him, if I do ask him right out, flat out, man, you want to be president? He'll smile at me and he'll walk away. he won't give me nothing on it.
Is there? I mean, you're part of the team there. I mean, he's probably going to get one fight in 2020. I mean, hopefully, if it comes together. I mean, what do you advise on that? I mean, you're right. Everybody's calling him out. I mean, he has an opportunity to fight whoever he wants. He still represents a lot of money in boxing. I mean, what makes the most sense to you?
There's always good fights out there, and the thing is, one thing about Manny, he doesn't want to just beat anybody. He wants to beat the best out there. He wants to fight the top guys. I mean, like Mike Garcia called him out a couple of times. I think that's a good fight for him, of course. And Robert called him out on one of your shows, and
Yeah.
it made me smile because I like that fight from Manny. I think it's a great fight. But the thing is, Manny might want to go a little bit maybe higher and fight, Triple G, one of those guys who's supposed to be the best guy in the world today. Because Pacquiao still desires to be the best there is.
Would you put him at 160?
No, I would not.
I was gonna say.
I would not advise him to go 160. No, now we're getting a little crazy. But Manny, putting him at 47 was a risk at one time. When everyone told me, why are you moving him up to 47? And I said, well, he's very natural at that way. He makes the weight really good, and he can make 40 pretty easy. He can actually make
Mhm.
35 if he digs down and so forth. But that's a little bit more effort and so forth. But like, to fight the biggest guys at 147 and where the money was, it's just it made good sense to all of us to fight the great Oscar. So it was
Mhm.
it was a great deal, and it worked out very well. It worked out really good for us.
Before I let you go, Freddie, the uh, Mike Tyson's back in the news,
Yeah.
and Tyson is talking about he's clearly in shape, much better shape than he's been in years, and he's talking about doing exhibition fights. What was your reaction to kind of hearing about Tyson coming back as you were a trainer for him for a period of time?
Yeah, and Mike's a great guy, and I did train him for a couple of fights before the end of his career, and his his heart really wasn't in it at that time, and like if he didn't knock you out within a couple of rounds, you get a torn meniscus in his knee or an injury somewhere here or there, and get out of the fight. And then, but the thing is, Mike is a great puncher, and he trains very hard, and I'll tell you, being with Mike for two fights, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. Catching him on the mitts was very um, difficult and very very a lot of fun. I mean, but getting whacked by Mike Tyson with the right hook isn't my favorite spot, but it happened, and I lived through it. So it was.
Your story, like you've got, I mean, you tell so many good stories, Freddie. That like, but one of my favorites is you stealing Tyson's plane. Is one of my all-time favorite stories.
You know, it was the plane was there, and everyone says, "Who's in charge?" And they said,
This was going to, just to set it up. This was going to Memphis, right, to fight Etienne. Is that right? Yeah.
And they said, Freddie, you're in charge. I says, well, I says, is there another plane for Mike? He said, yeah, there's another plane for Mike. I says, well, if we don't take this one, we still get charged for it? Yeah. We still didn't get charged. So there's another one for Mike. So let's get there and get settled, and let Mike take the next plane. And then he told me, he says, yeah, he said, the plane that you left me, it didn't even have food on it. We had to order Chinese takeout for my daughter. He says, you son of a bitch. So I wasn't allowed in his room for 4 days before the fight. And then one night about 2 a.m, he called me up and said, it's Freddie. He says, well, come on down, let's warm up a little bit. And we did some hits and we warmed up, and the fight was the next day, and it was a great fight for him, and everything worked out well. We're friends again.
Do you think, I mean, let me ask you this finally. Do you, like, I always wonder, what would Tyson have been if he didn't go to jail? Like, do you think he would have won the fights against Foreman and Lewis and the guys that were fighting, and even Holyfield early? Or would he have continued to get exposed the way Douglas exposed him? And even Razor Ruddock, like, kind of stood there in front of him and was not really scared of him after that.
Yeah, I think Tyson would have been, if he didn't go to jail, he might have been maybe one of the greatest of all time.
Really?
I do think that. Yes. Well, I was in jail once for a day, and I didn't enjoy that one day. So I'm glad but to spend 3 years in jail, I think that might take a lot out of anybody in the world. Just,
yeah.
Would just like, no. I'm just joking.
No, I get it. I get it. Freddie, always good to talk to you, man. Hope you get back in that gym real soon. Hope we see you and Pacquiao and all your other guys back in the ring sooner rather than later, man.
Yeah, if you got any juice, let me know.